Mego 1979 Black Hole action figure toy line. Is it underrated? It's one of my favorites. But today, let's focus in on the 12-inch action figures right here. Join me. Alright, first off, listen, we don't have a toy line without a movie. With Star Wars A New Hope releasing in 1977, it turned the sci-fi movie industry on its head. To capitalize on the success of Star Wars, Paramount Pictures would release Star Trek: A Motion Picture in 1979. Now, I was always under the impression that Disney did the same as Paramount. Try to release a film right after Star Wars that could capitalize on the sci-fi family film, but that's not quite true. In 1975, two writers, Bob Bardish and Richard Landau, would present Disney a draft of a movie called Space Station 1. Now, this version of the film would be shelved for a number of years. With the script being reworked numerous times, it would resurface in 1976 as Space Probe 1. In 1978, Disney would have a final draft in their hands. Now, Disney would choose the title The Black Hole to convey the mystique and the power of the movie. Listen, I love this movie, but power and mystique, maybe bizarre? The Black Hole would premiere in London on December 18th, 1979, and then just 3 days later in the US. With a runtime of 1 hour 38 minutes and a budget of $20 million, directed by Gary Nelson, Disney would have their first PG-rated film ever. The movie would open with mixed reviews and gross $35 million in the box office. The Black Hole was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Cinematography and Best Visual Effects. Don't forget that beautiful soundtrack by John Barry. Now listen, I love this movie personally, but you could tear this thing apart from top to bottom. It's only got a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's a 5.9 on IMDb, but it brought us some really cool characters, and let's face it, it gave us another toy line to collect. Okay, let's finally jump in, review this toy line, and let's start off with Dr. Kate McCrae. Dr. Kate McCrae, played by actress Yvette Mimieux. Would you believe Yvette was not Disney's first choice to play this iconic character? Sigourney Weaver was originally the choice for the role, but someone in the casting department rejected her based off her unusual name. Next up for the role was Jennifer O'Neill. Jennifer was asked to cut her hair by the visual effects team to assist in the zero-gravity scenes. She would finally agree after numerous glasses of wine. This would lead to a car accident and have to be replaced the next day by guess who? The beautiful, stunning Yvette Mimieux. I would be first introduced to Yvette in the 1960 movie, The Time Machine. I decided to take these out of the box so we could get a little closer look at the details. But first, let's take a closer look at the box itself. The only defining difference of these boxes is the character name. Fully articulated, completely posable, and super realistic features. Down at the bottom of the box shows us 1979 Walt Disney Productions, manufactured by Mego. The back of each box features all 6 characters from the line. Brilliant and beautiful astrophysicist. And now let's take a closer look at the action figure. Now, the head sculpts on a number of my Mego 12-inch action figures have begun to gray. This plastic tends to do that over time. I think the likeness on this head sculpt is really good. When Mego states fully articulated and completely posable, there is numerous limitations to posable. The outfits and uniforms in these movies are pretty limited, but Mego does a great job recreating in soft goods the look of the movie. Overall, a strong start to an interesting line of 12-inch action figures. Let's see who's next. Harry Booth, played by actor Ernest Borgnine. Ernest has co-starred in a number of my favorite TV shows and movies, such as The Poseidon Adventure, The Wild Bunch, Flight of the Phoenix, Airwolf, and one of my all-time favorite cult classics, Escape from New York. Alright, right here on the box, character name, Harry Booth. Let's see what Mego has to say about Harry Booth. Arrogant newspaperman who makes more than his share of trouble while covering the Palomino mission. I guess that pretty much sums it up. Okay, Harry Booth, let's take a close look at you. Okay, we have a little discoloration to the head once again, but this face sculpt is absolutely outstanding. Look at the workmanship and the time and effort put into just making this sweater. Same limited articulation, a nice brown pair of slacks, and very detailed shoes. You know, between the boots, the pants, this highly detailed sweater, and this brilliant face sculpt, this is overall a pretty nice action figure. Captain Dan Holland, played by actor Robert Forster. Playing alongside Chuck Norris, Lee Marvin, and Liam Neeson, Robert Forster starred in the 1986 movie The Delta Force. Later in his career, Robert would co-star alongside Gerard Butler and Morgan Freeman in Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen. Robert would go on to have prominent roles in television such as Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. All right, Captain Dan Holland. All right, let's take a look at the bio for Captain Dan Holland. Command pilot of the Palomino, whose mission is to probe the farthest reaches of the vast beyond. Sounds like something written in a high school yearbook. All right, this head's turned so gray, it's just gone zombie-ish. But the head sculpt actually on this is pretty good if it was the right color tone. I do like the Holland name patch and the Palomino patch. Both are stickers. I do like the two gold, silver captain insignia patches here. That flesh tone turtleneck really makes his head look gray. I do like the piping on the sleeves. Like I said before, the uniforms in this movie were very simple. This jumpsuit looks good. The boots look good. Other than the head changing color, it's a pretty solid figure. Dr. Hans Reinhardt, played by actor Maximilian Schell. Born in Austria in 1930, this Swiss actor, in his second role ever, won an Academy Award for Best Actor in 1961 for the American film Judgment at Nuremberg. Max would have a long and notable career in stage and movies, such as co-starring alongside Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick in the 1990 film The Freshman, 1991 Labyrinth, and Deep Impact in 1998. Dr. Hans Reinhardt. All right, Doc, let's take a look at your bio. Evil genius and commander of the Cygnus, a man of great intellect, but destructive and dangerous. You got that right. All right, we got a little nose rub here. This is my favorite face sculpt out of the whole line. The coloring on the face still actually looks pretty good on this one. I like the detail of the Legion of Merit neck metal here. I like the piping on the pants. It kind of gives it that pleated, dressed look. The black boots are detailed, look good. Overall, this is the best figure, in my opinion, in the line. Side note, the character of Maximilian was written in the script long before any actor was signed to this movie. So it was only coincidental that we had the robot and the actor with the same name. It is interesting that Dr. Reinhardt would be trapped in hell in the shell of Maximilian. Dr. Alex Durant, played by legendary actor Anthony Perkins. Another acting legend that would have an enormous career on stage and screen. Considered a cultural icon, Anthony Perkins' most notable and defining role was Norman Bates in the 1960 film Psycho. Dr. Alex Durant. All right, let's see what the box has to say about Alex Durant. Chief scientist of the Palomino with a sharp and astounding mind. All right, let's take a closer look at this. The coloring on this head is much, much better. The face sculpt is good. You know, it's a younger version of him. Once again, I like the Palomino badge there on his shoulder. Pop that sticker off and you know what you got? You got yourself a Fred Rogers. Just a typical pair of gray work slacks, white boots. Since I'm a big fan and there's not a lot of Anthony Perkins items out there, this one's pretty cool. Lieutenant Charlie Piser, played by actor Joseph Bottoms. Charlie Piser was Disney's version of Luke Skywalker for the Black Hole. Kind of a young, eager kid on a mission, trying to prove himself. Unfortunately, it never worked for me. Not a big fan of this character. Charlie Piser. Mego or Disney didn't give him much respect either. They didn't give him his lieutenant ranking on the box. Palomino's young, brash first officer and right hand to Captain Holland. All right, Black Hole Luke, let's take a closer look at you. With that severely discolored head, I'm gonna go with, is he wearing a Michael Myers mask? This is one face sculpt I just don't think works. That Palomino insignia and the typical jumpsuit. At least they gave him his lieutenant ranking here on his shoulder. Got a little gray piping down the shoulder, a little bit different from Captain Dan Holland's uniform. Same white boots. You can't have the complete set if you don't have all 6 of them. So, all right, Charlie Piser, welcome to the party, pal. Notable mentions. Possibly the biggest star of the film, LF-396, Vincent. Vincent is an acronym for Vital Information Necessary Centralized. The voice of the beloved droid would be carried on the shoulders by a Caesar, a Galen, and a Cornelius. One of my favorite actors, Roddy McDowall. Over 270 screen and stage roles, spanning over 60 years. Roddy would co-star alongside Elizabeth Taylor in the 1963 movie Cleopatra, alongside his Black Hole co-star Ernest Borgnine in the 1972 movie The Poseidon Adventure. Doubling down on crazy-ass movies, how about Laser Blast 1978? The 1985 blood-sucking role Fright Night. Hey look, another Kurt Russell movie. How about the 1987 movie Overboard? Special Troops Arms Regiment, also known as Captain Star, was portrayed and voiced by Tom McLaughlin. A former mime, screenwriter, film and TV director, Tom was most noted for directing Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. LF-28, Old Bob, an acronym for Biosanitation Battalion. When you need the voice of an old robot, who do you turn to? An ex-rodeo performer turned actor and Western movie legend, Louis Burton Lindley Jr., or better known as Slim Pickens. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope we kind of learned some things together. I appreciate your time. If you haven't seen The Black Hole in a number of years, or you've never seen The Black Hole, I think you should take some time and go to Disney Plus and watch it. Go pop yourself a giant bowl of popcorn, and you know what? You don't need to add the cheese. The movie's got that covered. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and depending on the day of the week, TikTok. See you next time.